Afternoon, everybody. Today we have Billy Zanolini. He is doing an animal project. Let's get started. For questions, y'all can put them in the group chat right here, and we will answer them as soon as we can. Otherwise, we can answer some afterwards. Just a reminder that this is being recorded so you can see it later on. And can you please check in? We have different door prizes. We have AirPods, JBL speakers, and some gift cards y'all can win, so please check in. And so, well, here's Billy. So you can go right ahead if you want.
All right, thanks, Macy. Appreciate the intro, and it's good to be with you all today and kind of talk through, youth livestock projects, 4-H livestock projects with you. Recognize many of the names that have checked in. Some of you are texting me, actually, which is awesome. So I have experience with doing this and having people saying things to me throughout via text as well. So what's the purpose of our discussion today? That's just to help you as a volunteer, and I see some agents on here, to better connect with young people through the Livestock Project. And so just if you'll allow me to speak globally about our livestock projects, just in Texas, it's massive. And I think you all probably know that. But annually, and this is 2015 data, we have over 137 head of livestock that walk in a ring in Texas. That's not how many were validated. That's not including the broilers that we culled out and we just showed 2 or 3. That's the number of animals that actually entered a ring in 2015. The exciting part, and just to bring you all up to speed on a big livestock project study we have going that Dottie Goebel, soon to be Dr. Goebel, hopefully, is leading in our office. A lot of you probably have seen a survey that has come from me asking questions about the livestock projects. You probably received that as a county agent, as an ag teacher, as a family. So that we tried to hit a couple different ways to really get at this livestock project in terms of numbers, investment of time and energy and things like that, and then also a return on the investment. So asking folks that, knowing that you're putting all this time and energy into this, from a parent's perspective, is that worth it? And from an agent's perspective, is it worth the time and investment and validation and things like that? So I told you about the 2015 data, and I'll continue with that, but just know that here in 2020, one of the good things that's going to come out of 2020 is we're going to get some great data on where we're at with our livestock projects. And what that's going to allow us to do is, so we had our baseline data from 2015, right? It's going to allow us to take that data, compare it to where we are in 2020, and we'll get to see some trends. So we think, and I'll use the word think, we think the rabbit project's growing. We don't have statewide data to support that, though. So this might confirm our anecdotal evidence that rabbits are growing, which would be incredible to know, or that goats are following, or sheep are increasing, or the investment of time. We're going to get into some of our resources to help you along the way, and we are hopeful that as we get the data in from this 2020 study, we're going to be able to update those resources so y'all will have the most up-to-date information to share with exhibitors and their families, and y'all to use in county extension offices across the state as well. So very exciting stuff from 2020. So one of the numbers that really jumped off the page for us in 2015 was the economic impact to the exhibitor. So just imagine your premium auctions and your terminal sales that are happening at the county level, because everybody gets really excited, and I do too, about our major livestock shows. Lots of fanfare, lots of energy behind those, and you think that a lot of investment or a lot of dollars is coming back to the youth from them, and they are, but it pales in comparison to what's happening locally. And what's happening locally is $77 million, and this is 2015 again, $77 million going back to the kids. And then you take that and add the 25 million coming from the major livestock shows, and there we have it, folks. We have gone over $100 million. It goes back to the kids annually. So what does that mean when you look at those numbers? For me, it means that our biggest opportunity for impact isn't necessarily, and we just had maybe some of you joined us for our Facebook Live at lunch with the Heart of Texas and State Fair. That those are wonderful experiences for youth, but what to return back to the 2015 data, what it tells us is that there's a tremendous amount of participation and resources that's happening at the county level. So those kids from where I sit that attend the major livestock shows, many of them, if not all of them, are 100% hooked in the Youth Livestock Project, right? So we could, I would submit to you, really spend some time and energy focusing on, and I know just looking at many of the names on here that's happening, that all of us could do a better job of focusing on the more vulnerable ones entering our program, and that would be the novice youth and families. So what can we do and what resources can we provide them to kind of keep them out of the ditch? And that ditch can be a time commitment ditch. That ditch can be an investment ditch because as we'll get into the Let's Get Started documents here in a minute, if you buy a steer from me for $1,200, you're thinking, well, $1,200, that's not that big of a deal. And then that's a pretty inexpensive market steer. And I was like, thank you. Yeah, here's your steer. But when you take the data and you run it against what we know is to be true about what it takes, feed, vet care, hoof trimming, other things combined in the beef cattle project, then we watch that $1,200 figure more than double when we get to the end. That is critical information for a family to have as they're looking to make an investment in a livestock project. And then let's go to the opposite end. And while we see this increase potentially in rabbits and small animals like poultry, it's the investment, not only in time, but it's less risk and exposure financially. So helping families understand that so they can make a great decision in August, September, and that decision lead to success and in the spring is great. Getting into December, if our county show is in March and we have run out our budget on a livestock project and we still have to feed that thing for a couple months, that's where we get into trouble. And that's where, like me as a livestock judge, we run into stock that we know are just behind the curve in terms of from a feed and care standpoint. And you just wonder a lot of the time, is it a family scaling back on investment in the feed because it became too expensive? You don't know the answer to that, nor do I. But the one thing we can do is help our families better understand what they're getting into with these livestock projects. So all of the things I mentioned to this point, 8 minutes into this thing, and I do want to just pause for a second because I know that Macy's going to be monitoring that chat, and I've asked her mid-sentence to interrupt me because here's what shouldn't happen, and that's me stand here and talk at you here for a little while on this afternoon. I'm hopeful that there would be some questions that are out there that would be posed to me and that I would have the opportunity to do that and answer that to the best of my ability. So I'm challenging you to interrupt me because nobody wants to see me talk for that long. You know that. So help me out and throw some questions in there. But let's get back to what we're talking about today, and that's making sure that young people and the leaders, you, that are providing support to them have resources available. So when I talk about those resources, I would be looking for things like this. So here's our Explore guide, right? And so we have these for all of our market species, and we've included some of our breeding divisions. But look at this, folks. I asked Sarah Sprayberry, who works for us, I said, take all of our Explore guides and combine them. Just curious how much content we have there. If you look at the top of that page, you may see it, may not. That says 170 pages. That's a lot of content. But don't worry, because there is a table of contents. But not only that, we've taken all those and combined them. So as I scroll through this, you're going to find the Explore book. These two first pages are very general about the description of 4-H and what we're trying to accomplish. This is kind of the experiential learning model that's there for your use and understanding of just kind of how learning happens. And then we take you through the beef project, and we try to segment it into ways that are digestible. No pun intended on the nutrition part, but digestible that you can work through in terms of lessons. You have your animal selection and so on and so forth. And I'm not going to bore you through 170 pages, but just know that there was a lot of thought that has gone into these Explore guides, and they've proven to be very useful when used. So we really want y'all to take advantage of those. So when you look at implementing the Explore guides, you can as an agent, you could set up a program plan that you could call it like an Animal Science 101, which basically is what the Explore guides are. And you could take, a group of students through the Explore guide over a semester's time, and then generate some county certificate in Animal Science 101 that happened in Will Barger County, for instance. And just to let you know, though, the future of the Explore guide, at least for Texas Youth Livestock and Agriculture, we've already begun to take the Explore guides and put them into a online learning module that would be equipped with tests and things. So a student would go through a chapter in beef cattle. There'd be a flash quiz right after that, and it would be online and very interactive. So you as an educator could send your, if you had the beef club within your county 4-H program, you could then require chapter 1 be completed, and then you would have the opportunity to see if they completed the content. You would have the opportunity to see if they completed the quiz, and so on and so forth. So we're moving very quickly in that direction. We already were prior to COVID, when a lot of folks have decided to bring things online for obvious reasons, but we were already moving in that direction, and we're a good ways down the road. We started with our beef guide. I got a mock-up of it okay, yeah, at least, so Macy, I could see that come in, that question. So I don't have an exact timeline on when those Explore guides will be released in the online learning module, but I will say they'll be kind of coming out one at a time, because converting that content from those 170 pages you saw into an online learning module does take time, and we're working with our AgriLife Communications here. And they don't just serve TYLA; they serve our entire agency. So we somewhat have to wait in line on that. But I would make a promise that we are hopeful to release our first Explore guide online this fall. So be looking for that to be coming out. So other things that you can expect from us as I'm looking through different screens. Has everybody been to TexasYouthLivestock.com? Because that's where all of our websites are. Or that is our website, excuse me. And that's where you can find information like the Explore guides, like the Let's Get Started documents. And I'm gonna, if you'll just allow me just a second here, I'm gonna get back to our website and then get to where I can share this screen. So hopefully that's coming up for everybody there. And if you haven't been here, I'm hopeful that you'll check it out. But all the things I'm talking about, that livestock project survey from 2015. So if you're a leader and you are trying to grow a project in your county, or you're a county extension agent and you're needing to communicate with your commissioner's court, that information you need to show the scope and size of the livestock project, it's all here. And so if you have anybody listening, if you have questions related to validation, those are all right here. So a lot of the times we get questions in our office, and I'm going to get a little bit off topic here, but about validation. So you click on steer validation, and specifically the ethics policy. Folks are always concerned that they're in compliance with a lot of our validation rules and guidelines. All that stuff is right there. So we have our different campaigns. This one here is "This Barn is My Classroom." Just a incredible, a way of showing our young people what they're a part of when they're in this project, and to help them understand, and everybody involved, that that barn we're talking about, and that all these resources that we're talking about that are directed to are regarding this classroom. So yeah, we don't want people disrespecting show officials, not in the classroom, drinking alcohol excessively. So I guess my point is you're going to find all of these resources here regarding these. And so when you scroll down, we try to be image heavy on our website, so you can just find the project area you're interested in. And we'll go to swine here, and then so the "Let's Get Started" document that I mentioned, that we've combined into one document for the purposes of this discussion today, but we have them segmented out. There's Explore Book, which was part of that 170-page document that I shared with you. Man, that thing's huge. But anyway, so "Let's Get Started." Here's what we're talking about. We're talking about communicating with the families right out the gate. So just to ask a question, I mean, does some of these numbers surprise you? Have you seen this document? Put that in the chat box as well. So we try to create a fun and easy way, not necessarily fun, but an easy way for folks to kind of make sense of the information, because it's a lot. So here again, let's just take the cost of a hog. And you think, well, $524 average based in 2015 for a market hog, that's something our family could handle or not handle. And then you say, well, that's not that bad. Well, look, it costs almost as much to feed them as it does that initial purchase price. So now we've pushed it over $1,000. Oh, okay, well, I'm starting to get a little less comfortable now that you're talking about $1,000, because as a parent, I still have travel baseball, and I have band, and I have ballet, and other things that I'm balancing. And then, okay, so now you throw in this vet cost. Ouch, okay. And then there's these fees that are associated with it too. And then miscellaneous. If you're raising hogs and you're trying to keep good hide and hair, now you're talking about a lot of shavings and keeping them out of the sun and facility. And then goodness, look what happened. To do it right, right in quotation marks, we're about $1,500. So as you as a communicator and educator to these families in your county, you can take this information and say, okay, the champion barrow at our county show brings $1,200. So now you know that if you invest over $500, and again, these are average numbers, and they're not, there's ways to cut corners and ways to cheapen things up a little bit. But overall, you look at these numbers and you go, that it just doesn't pencil out for me to show a barrow. It really doesn't. Or to try to be competitive showing a barrow. And then you say, well, what about a lamb? What about a goat? Because there's less feed cost there. And then you go to the goat page, and then you look at the initial purchase price is higher. And then so you balance these things out. And then you have some real data. This is not fake stuff. This is actual data that we pulled together in a study, and it's reliable. And you can help a family along and say, okay, so you're interested in the swine project. We think that if you spend about $500 on this barrow, you're really looking at somewhere between $1,300 and $1,600, somewhere in there. And you give them just a framework to work within. And then typically, and my experience as an agent or a project leader, you see the look on their face and you get a read, and they're like, yeah, so about that. Let's take a look at something else. And that makes sense. So these have been great resources. We've gotten lots of positive feedback on those. So, as I could continue to work our way through through our website. And I think there's a world of good that you can take out of all of the projects here. We have start to finish, we have project descriptions, and then we break it down for you. We have some video, not enough, but we have video there for you as well. And just the main idea, and here's just a shameless plug for our leadership programs too. And we're very excited that we had to make some adjustments in our ambassador programs this year in terms of dates. We had to cancel some events and then open some new ones. But I'm very excited that we're going to get to offer 2 livestock ambassador short courses up in the Panhandle, one at Texas Tech at the very end of July, and then one at WT in mid-July. So very excited that we're going to be able to offer that to 50 plus students this year in a face-to-face experience. But back to the website, this will connect you with all those resources. It houses all of our applications and outlines the experiences there. And so there's just more resources there. Our office coordinates quality counts. So of course you're going to find quality counts here. So as you're looking to make sure that your 4-H members and people that you supervise are up to speed on quality counts, there's all those resources there. And then of course our sponsors that make all this possible. But we'd love to get your feedback on the website. We're constantly updating it. This website is not, you'll see it's a .com, it's not a .edu. It's because we're in partnership with our major livestock shows in this effort, along with Texas FFA. So it's not an extension-only website, but you will see the very prominent TYLA there in AgriLife. So with that said, I am hopeful that I'm trying to be respectful of your time. I know I'm last today, and I just want to make sure that I'm delivering on the goal of this, and that is to make sure you're aware of the opportunities and the resources that we have in TYLA, and that you know where to go. And more importantly, you know where to go, but then you find the resources and then you know how to implement them. So do we have any, I'm gonna, Macy, where are we at in the chat?
There hasn't been any more questions so far. So.
Okay. Well, I figured you would have interrupted me, but
Yes, I would have.
but just because you all have tuned in, just some other updates. We're gonna we met with State Fair and Heart of Texas over lunch. We did a Facebook Live. For those of you that have concerns about those shows moving forward in the fall, we got a very emphatic yes, they are from their show management, and the main message from that, the big takeaway, was be patient with us. They may be adjusting some show days, not necessarily the overall dates of the show, but moving some different events and competitions around to make it work. And of course, there's going to be some added safety and health requirements there as well. Things that that are very normal now, like 16 people camping out outside of the pens, hanging out. That might not be an opportunity. It's likely not an opportunity coming up. But it was so good to hear from the shows that they plan on moving forward with their 2020 fall shows. We're also meeting with our spring major livestock show partners as well about next spring and what that's going to look like as well. And so we will continue, and the website that I mentioned is in our social media is the place where we get to update you folks on what we're learning there. And just know that if you're sitting watching this and you're listening to me talk and you're like, well, yeah, but I'm in such and such county and I'm a project leader here, that doesn't really impact me, and you keep talking about the major livestock shows, we want to be a service to you at the most local level possible, because the strength of our program isn't in these grand events that we put on where millions of people come to. The strength of our program is at the local level. It's at the county level, and you are the folks that are leading the charge there. We don't get to the major leagues and the major shows if we don't have an incredible farm system. And so I would just ask each and every one of you, and I'd challenge you to really focus your attention on that new family that's coming into the program. Because as you look at kind of the plane of livestock project participation from a 4-H perspective, there are two major breaks. Does anybody have a guess where the first break and we see the biggest drop off is? And I'm comfortable with silence. Somebody put it in the chat box. Between what years in the project? Amber Moore, are you paying attention? What years? Take a guess. Between 1 and 2, 4 and 5, 7 and 8. Where's the biggest drop? Ah, thank you. I see you, Phyllis Griffin, and I see you, Melanie. And Julie is also right. It's between the first and second year. So I think, thank you, Amber. There you are. You're exactly right. And y'all know this just because you see it and you live it. But that's family. Just imagine they come into this project. They've invested these dollars into this project. And it's our job, I think it's our charge to make sure that they have the resources they need to be successful. And that can look a lot of different ways. That can be hosting livestock project workshops, right? I see Amber here, so I think about the Holiday Classic. And I see others from District 9 here, and I'm thinking about the Southern Classic. And I'm seeing people from the coastal region and those great events that are happening there. Are you as a project leader or an agent, are you hosting things locally? So that kid that lives in Madison County doesn't have to travel to Belton or what have you. Are you making opportunities for them to get to town? Because when I talk to county agents and we are training them and I'm talking to project leaders, they say, yeah, but this time going around to do these project checks and this investment of time and then communicating with the family and doing all these things, they take time. And that's right, they do. But a really smart way to work is the very smart way to work is to bring the folks to you. Seems like a crazy thought right now, right? To host an event and have people come to a common area. But folks, we're going to get back to that, right? And then even right now, with the proper paperwork and preparedness plans, you can start to pull people together for some of these events and still satisfy social distancing and local, state, and federal guidelines regarding COVID and just safety in general. So that's going to happen. So that's an opportunity for you to bring people together with the Livestock Project Workshop. And I just tell you that just to say we have all that stuff that you need is right there at TexasYouthLivestock.com. We have PowerPoints and resources regarding hosting a livestock project workshop and how to do that, and how to host a major show sign-up night and all those different things. So lots and lots of resources for you. I saw a and thank you, Amber, for use those ambassadors. So yeah, there's another plug for the Livestock Ambassador Program. Those poor ambassadors, we're mean to them. We take them, we train them. And their purpose in life, one of their purposes in life is to go back and work for their county agent or their project leader to host these livestock project workshops or work the county show, work validation. My goodness, it's free labor, and they have to give to advance in the program. They have to give a lot of hours. There was a kid that applied just recently for Advocacy Academy, which is our second phase of our program, that had over 500 hours donated in a year, which is crazy amount of time. So they'll give the time if you'll just ask them. Thank you, Melanie. That is a great endorsement there. That idea that you're saying there, if you'll allow me to be an academic egghead for a second, is the word is homophilia, and the idea is that kids listen to others that are approximate age and share cultural and mannerisms, and they understand, who Kanye West is and other things, and they might not necessarily understand a guy who shows up in a tie that's like me, who's 40. It's hard for me to say that again. Who's 40 and shows up and has something to say. Really, that 16, 15, 14-year-old has a tremendous amount of influence. And thank you, y'all have led me down a really good road here. Can serve as a mentor to that new family that we're really worried about keeping in our program. Because we said, you guys were right. From year 1 to year 2 is where we see the biggest drop off. Let's lessen that dip right there and keep more kids in this program. Why? Because y'all know it's great. With all the things they learn, you wouldn't be listening to me ramble on for 30 minutes now if you didn't think it was important. So here is a good question that Heather asked. Thank you, Heather. Do you have resources for judge lingo? And that would be quite the resource, especially if I can pick on my friends in the hog barn. Boy, the lingo in the hogs is tremendous. If that's a word that works for what they do in the hog barn. But yeah, I think that's something we definitely need to look into. So at TexasYouthLivestock.com, we have livestock judging resources. But I don't believe, and I'm going to make a note, that maybe we need to focus on lingo. And I know when I'm judging, it just depends on the audience. If I'm at Brazoria County Fair and I see lots of grandmas and aunts and uncles in the stands, and they don't necessarily appear like this is something they do every day, I really try to be aware of that and try to talk in a way that makes sense and not use terms like alligator backed and really rock star fronted and some of the things we hear in the ring. I know exactly where you're coming from here. So Heather, let us take a look at creating. I definitely think this would be some fun things to do. Be looking for a social media campaign coming from us, and we'll probably have just a little bit of fun with it in terms of judging lingo. But that comment right there really makes my day, because I think we're gonna have a big time with the judging lingo. So kudos to you for asking that question, and look for resources on that. Currently, we just have the general stuff talking about things that are accurate, like rack, loin, and leg. Density. But then we get into things like density of muscle and wrap some more muscle around their skeleton. I could go on, but some of that stuff does get confusing, and we need to be doing our part to help folks understand that. So again, thank you very much for that. I'm reading what Julie is asking here. Okay. So here's the good news, Julie. It's like misery loves company. This is a societal thing and something that we've been around forever. If you can't see Julie's comment, she's talking about the nature of our project leaders and how project leaders are. Well, I'll just tell you, in many cases, they're parents too. So it is the comment that was made is that people focus on their own kids when they're leading a project area. Well, as soon as I'm done with y'all, folks, I'm going to be headed back to my town, Madisonville, and we're having soccer tryouts. And I'm an assistant coach on that team, and my kid plays on that team. And as a parent, it is so hard to a couple things. It's one, it's hard to not be too hard on your own kid. They're your kid, and you kind of you're guiding them, at least right now at 10, through life, and you're not afraid to kind of snatch them up and talk to them a little bit, right? And in that case, you're being unfair to your kid because you're harder on them than the other ones. And then there's another part of you that really wants your kid to be successful among their peers. So you're like, wow, well, maybe I'll take it easy on them today. And so then that's not good either, because you don't want to give preferential treatment. You don't want to be easier on your kid than another. So there is a balance and a sweet spot there. And then you also speak to turnover in the county. which I know can be a challenge as well. But back to the societal thing. So in baseball, we would call it daddy baseball. In this activity, we would be talking about parents that are super involved with their kid and maybe neglecting another. But that's, and you mentioned the county extension agent, but that's a really good point and a really good opportunity for you to set up a meeting with your county agent and just as a contributor, because you're obviously a volunteer in your program, as a contributor, um, we can definitely uh, have that conversation with the agent and move forward with a very healthy conversation on, here's where I see our program, here's where we've been, and here's what I think are some things that can make it better, right? And so thank you for that. Very, very good point and question right there. Yes, Heather, I will definitely keep you in the loop on the judging lingo. I'll talk to Sarah Sprayberry, our social media coordinator, when we get off the call. And I think that's just a really fun summertime activity there. So, any other comments? It's 4:35. And I know we have a whole hour, but if you can't tell, I talk fast because I want to be respectful of your time. Hit the high points, hit the most important things that I think you need to know at this point, and then get you on with your life. So, any additional thoughts? And feel free, to leave feedback. This was helpful. This was not. Send me an email and say, hey, Zanolini, the next time you do this, please include this or something. Give us something tangible. I tried to with the Explorer guides and the Let's Get Started documents. And then the big charge would be for you to really just take some time, go to texasyouthlivestock.com, peruse that thing, open up different pages. It would make me so happy to see that somebody said, hey, I just noticed you all have this outdated resource there. That doesn't happen at the Heart of Texas Fair anymore. Or this is dated, or this is incorrect. That's how we want to get better, and that's how we're responsive to you as the people we serve. So, seeing no more questions, Macy, I'm just going to say thank you to everybody. Thank you for your service to the youth of our state. And just know that if you ever need us, please reach out to us. Suggestions, we take them all, and we're just happy to serve you. So, have a blessed day, and everybody take care.
Thank you, Billy. Just a reminder for everyone to check in on the link. I will send it again for y'all to check in at. But that should be good for today if y'all don't have any more questions.
I'll hang out here for a second just in case there are some that pop up, but happy to.
Sounds good. I think we're about good.
Okay.
I don't see any more questions.
All right.
So.
Sounds great. Then I would shut it down. Thanks for the help.
No problem.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.